For decades, the amusement park Disneyland, located in Orlando, Florida, and based around the properties of creator Walt Disney, has been a place of magic and wonder for generations of both kids and adults alike. However, beneath its cheerful exterior, many sinister urban legends have developed over the years. Hauntings, deaths, and bizarre claims have been made by employees and visitors alike. So in this video we take a look at the creepy side of Disneyland with 8 spooky urban legends that may well be true. Heart attack in the Haunted Mansion. There is a haunted house attraction in Disneyland known as the Haunted Mansion. In fact, the mansion has proven so popular over the years since its creation at the park in 1969 that a film was produced based around it. However, rumours have circulated over the years that prior to the ride's opening, back in the 1960s, a preview event was held to select members of the public so Disney could gain feedback. One man, apparently, found the ride so scary that he died from a heart attack, forcing Disney to postpone the launch and tone down the scare factor of certain elements of the ride. So the version we have today is far less scary than the one originally planned. Mr. One Way. Popular roller coaster Space Mountain is rumoured to be haunted. People have reported sightings of a man who will appear next to them while queuing, and sometimes even sits in an empty carriage beside them during the ride itself. This man has reddish hair and a red face. He is known as Mr. One Way. He always disappears before the ride has ended, vanishing into thin air. There have been many sightings of Mr. One Way at Space Mountain over the years, and legend has it he is the ghost of a man who died on the ride during the 1970s. The Bellhop Ghost. Legend has it on the Tower of Terror ride many years ago, a bellhop working on one of the 4 platforms, Platform Delta, suddenly dropped dead. Ever since that day there have been sightings of the bellhop ghost. In fact, he has even been allegedly caught on camera. The bellhop ghost never harms anyone, but he does like to play tricks by randomly shutting down lights, freezing up the ride, and causing loud and unexplainable noises to freak out staff members after the park has closed. Debbie Stone. One of the major rides at Disneyland in the 1970s was the Carousel of Progress. In 1974, this was redesigned as an automated musical attraction called America Sings. The ride was made up from 6 theatres, each with a different audience, which then rotated around a set of 4 stages, each featuring a different animatronic musical act. The problem was that the walls rotating around the stage centre would flatten up against one another after each clockwise turn. Debbie Stone was a young woman working on the ride as a performer, and she was the victim of a fatal accident. She became trapped between the stages during one of the rotations and crushed between 2 walls. Before the ride's closure in 1998, people would remark they could, on occasion, hear a woman's voice warning, "Be careful," near the site of the accident. And this was said to be the ghost of Debbie Stone, warning other workers so they would not befall a similar fate. Human ashes in the Haunted Mansion. Over the years there have been numerous accounts of people caught in the act of dumping the cremated remains of loved ones in the Haunted Mansion. There have been even more accounts from cleanup teams of human ashes discovered after the fact. All this has led many to conclude that the Haunted Mansion may really be haunted by the spirits of the dead who have been deposited there. Either way, it's pretty creepy to know that people have been dumping the ashes of the dead throughout this attraction. Real skeletons on the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. Many people consider Pirates of the Caribbean to be one of Disneyland's most influential and impressive attractions. It even became a popular movie series starring Johnny Depp. It was also the final ride supervised by Walt Disney himself when first built in 1969. The Pirates of the Caribbean ride contains many different locations, including a swamp and a cave. These locations contain skeletal human remains. The creepy part is that the original skeletons designed for the ride didn't look authentic enough, and so it is believed the design team reached out to friends working over at the UCLA Medical Center and got their hands on some real skeletons. So for many years, the skeletal props visitors would see were in fact the remains of real people. As fake skeleton technology improved over the years, it is said that most, but not all, of the original real skeletons have been replaced, so keep an eye out if you ever take this particular ride. Andy's coming. Remember the famous line from Toy Story, "Andy's coming"? This was always shouted by one of the toys when Andy, their human owner, was on the way up to his room. It meant the toys had to play dead and return to their limp, lifeless state. Well, years ago at Disneyland, if any kid were to shout the famous phrase "Andy's coming" around any of the mascots at the park, it meant they had to fall to the floor and remain perfectly still, just like in the movie. However, as soon as word got out about this bizarre real-life Easter egg, Disneyland was made to stop due to safety concerns for their workers. However, this strange urban legend is actually true. The Abandoned Island. In 1974, Disney opened an island within their resort called Discovery Island. Yes, that's right, they opened an entire island. Originally a pirate-themed island, this massive attraction eventually became a nature reserve housing animals such as flamingos, lemurs and monkeys. However, due to alleged reports of animal abuse by staff members and because of its lack of popularity, Discovery Island was eventually closed down in 1999. Now the entire island lays abandoned. The only remaining life, its natural inhabitants, the birds and alligators. A few years after its closure, a photographer swam out to the island under the cover of darkness to explore. Strangely, the lights of a water park were on, even though no work was being carried out and the island had long been left in ruin. There were also strange noises to be heard. The photographer left, never to return. But legend has it, this overgrown, abandoned island within Disneyland is haunted by Disney mascots who will terrorize anyone who trespasses on its land.